What up, HyperChange? Today I'm going to tell y'all about my favorite new podcast. If I could buy stock in any podcast, it would be the All In Show. This is a new podcast that I've just discovered. I never really make videos about this, but I just had to because this is the content I have been waiting for. I almost never consume shows, TV shows, or podcasts, or really anything like that. Just not my stilo, more of a kind of Twitter blog guy. But when I see this thing come to fruition, like I am so picky about the content I watch. And this podcast, it's 5 episodes in, it just launched. It's blown away all other content on the internet. It is the best thing happening in media. And the craziest part is nobody knows about it. They have less than 5,000 subscribers, less than 68,000 views. As I record this video, I'm making this to basically make a video about why you have to subscribe to this podcast. And I just think if you're subscribed to HyperChange, if you're into business and tech, you are going to get so much value from this. And I can't wait to tell you all about it. So basically, the All In podcast was started by Jason Calacanis and Chamath Palihapitiya. These are two really legendary investors. I'm a huge fan of Jason Calacanis myself. He wrote the book Angel, which I did a book review on the channel, sent it to him, ended up doing a podcast with him. He was so nice, let me use his studio for that podcast. Just sort of always looked up to him, and he is one of the greatest angel investors. He's made investments into Uber, like Robinhood, a bunch of different companies, amazing angel investor, super early Tesla Roadster, Tesla Model S customer, homies with Elon Musk, legendary podcaster. So you got Jason Calacanis basically decides to start a podcast with his poker squad mid-Rona. So who was on his poker squad apparently, that's why it's called All In with the Chips, is Chamath Palihapitiya. So he, I guess, is co-hosting the All In podcast. Chamath is like one of my investment heroes and legends. I think he's the next Warren Buffett. Potentially, he's trying to build the next Berkshire Hathaway with Social Capital, his VC firm. He went on to pitch Amazon at Irazone probably 10 years ago, was so on point with that. That really helped me understand Amazon. He pitched Tesla a couple years ago. He's early on Bitcoin. He helped IPO the SPAC for Virgin Galactic, working on a rare earth IPO. I mean, the dude is extremely forward thinking. He made his money on the come up as an executive at Facebook, helped them scale user growth, made a couple bill, cashed out to then do that VC thing. So literally the amount, and I'm giving you their bios because the titans of industry here. I mean, this is a podcast where you get to hear direct from the mouth of some of the 4 smartest people in the world in Silicon Valley in terms of technology business. These guys have rock star resumes. You cannot get a meeting with them. Like CNBC and Bloomberg are begging them to go on their shows. They almost never do, but every 5-minute interview that they have, I'm like all over. I was actually watching Chamath's interview today talking about how retail investors were ahead of the curve on Tesla, and then Elon Musk even tweeted that HyperChange is one of, anyway, I'm in a good mood today because I'm so pumped from that Elon Musk tweet. But anyway, so Chamath Palihapitiya, someone I really look up to and admire as an investor. He's just, all of his insight is just so brilliant. He's cutthroat, no bullshit. So you got him and Jason Calacanis, awesome rock stars. Then they have, I guess, their other homies on their poker squad, David Sachs, Silicon Valley legend. He was PayPal Mafia, COO, product manager. He also, after that, started a company called Yammer, which was acquired by Microsoft for $1.2 billion. I think Chamath was actually an investor in that in 2016. He led the turnaround of Zenefits. I'm just reading his Wikipedia page. I don't know. And then he also founded Craft Ventures, which is super dope, leading VC firm. And so I guess that's now his main gig. We're literally talking about, PayPal Mafia, Silicon Valley, VC legend status people here. The last person, David Friedberg, he was the only one I hadn't heard of before the podcast. I guess he sold some company to Monsanto for $1 billion a while back, worked at Google, is now running this thing called the Production Board, I believe. Yeah, the Production Board, which is a startup studio incubator. Jason Calacanis seemed to be hyping up some sort of beverage company that's going to spin out of that. We'll see soon. So anyway, we've got these 4 heavyweights who apparently are all homies and play poker and just shoot the shit and talk about world politics, economics. I sort of relate to this because I started a poker night, shout out to the poker squad at La Filch, with my friends back in New York pre-Rona, and we would just talk about economics, debate, stocks, life. It was just one of my favorite parts and an awesome way to build camaraderie with friends. And so the fact that these homies have their own poker group and they decided to turn it into a podcast is the coolest thing ever. Unfiltered, raw thoughts, not in a 5-minute segment, an hour plus long, free-flowing discussion, passionate, honest, no agenda, no incentives to try and push a narrative or that, just really brilliant discussion from some of the world's smartest people. And so you might be now, okay, well, what is this about? Basically about I don't even know how to fix the world, like what we should be doing, what people should be talking about, what people should be thinking about how to get shit done and move the world and humanity in the right direction. The first start was all about coronavirus. I think that's when they really got the idea for this podcast, was like, yo, like, this coronavirus thing is crazy. We're always having these crazy discussions. Our poker group turned into this coronavirus discussion group because it was so fascinating. That's how they got the genesis to launch this podcast. So fascinating analysis of the coronavirus data, what's going on there, the shutdown, how that impacts companies, economies, startups. Then they're going into more recently things about China, the WHO, geopolitics, chips made in Taiwan, how that's a geopolitical risk. I've listened to this podcast and I'm like, oh my God, this is why I love America. Just so many smart people from different backgrounds, from different cultures coming together, brilliant ideas, brilliant discussion. I wish these were our politicians. Oh my God. And so that's why I'm so pumped about this podcast and I never make videos talking about anything like this, but I had to today because I just wanted to give a huge shout out to those 4 people, Chamath, Jason, David Sachs, and David Friedberg, because they've taken their time to put out this content and educate people. And it's blowing up on Apple Podcasts, even though it's still super small. But I just think this is exactly what media needs. Like, I'm so sick and tired of CNBC, Bloomberg, just the way media is, clickbait, the wrong incentives, not smart people telling us what's up. And I think that's a really big problem in the world. And we need really good, open discussion about big ideas and the challenges we have and how to solve them. And that's what I feel like this is answering. And I just feel like it gets me to think bigger. I watch every episode. I'm pumped. I learn so much. It's literally like you could get there's, you know what I mean? Like listening to the first 5 episodes, the All In podcast, I've listened to all of them actually, except the last half of the new one because I'm waiting for my roommate we can watch it together because that's how good it is. It's like one of those shows you got to watch with your homie. But I've listened to every single one and I come out smarter. I've learned so much. And, it's just fascinating to see how these people think. And I've gotten so many ideas about, how I think about the world and geopolitics and understanding from this podcast. I don't know if I'm doing a good job at explaining the content because I think you really just have to listen to it to hear about it. It's really just how the world works, the intersection of business, politics, economics, which is, for me at HyperChange, just fascinating. And so this is the video I just wanted to make to say, if you are into business and tech podcasts, if you watch HyperChange and you don't know about the All In podcast, you have to check it out. I think it's worth a listen. Moonshot Monday. I would buy so much stock in the All In podcast right now. I'd be going all in on probably January 2021 leaps. I think this thing is going from 4,000 or 5,000 subs today to like 100,000 in like a couple months. Hitting 1 million soon. Moonshot Monday, All In podcast. It's 1 million subs on YouTube. No problem. This is going to be potentially the biggest business podcast in the world. Massive potential. This is the media we need. This is the financial media we need the world watching to understand about what's going on. These are the people we need to be leading the discussion about where to move our country and what to do politically and how to, it just makes me really, really excited that this is happening and it's a bright spot in the world right now. And I want to give attention to it because we have some of the 4, like the amount, like, you know what I mean? Like, you want to mentor, you want to learn how the most smartest, successful, richest people in the world do what they do, how they think about the world, what their ideas are. That is something you would have never been able to access. You would never be able to know. And now they've decided to put out this podcast and open up their ideas for the world for free. It's on the internet for free. Anyone can watch it for free. I mean, I love it. Huge shout out to the homies doing the All In podcast. I do have an ask, which is that I've been scheming to try and get Chamath on HyperChange. I've not formally sent an email. I'm going to do that today, but I would love to get Chamath on HyperChange to talk Tesla. I mean, I got the Elon shout out off your CNBC thing. You're long Tesla. I'm long Tesla. I don't know. I feel like my subscribers would be obsessed with that. I also want to hear the pitch on Virgin Galactic because I don't understand that well enough. So anyway, this is what it is. Go subscribe to the All In podcast. I'd actually love to have all of them on HyperChange. Jason again, because they're so dope. But anyway, the point is, go subscribe, go give them a bunch of views. Let's blow this up because and get it the attention it deserves. Moonshot Monday, All In podcast, hitting 1 million subs. The best business podcast in 2020, maybe of the decade. So pumped it launched. This is HyperChange. I'll see y'all next time. Peace.